Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with Arduino. Today we're going to be taking our knowledge to the next step and creating a more advanced project. So you see here, you may just think it's a bunch of blinking lights but like we went over, but if you click it, it turns into a whole game. So let me just get this one wrong on purpose. So today, this is what we're going to be building, combining our knowledge with LEDs, with the buttons, and with the buzzer. And in the next video, we're going to take this a step further using the LCD display, which we will be introducing, as well as going over the code. So I'm going to display the circuit diagram as well as how I built this, as well as the code and going through how it works. So let's hop right in. So this may look like a lot, but essentially it's just the same thing over and over again. I'm just going to talk about how this kind of works, and then I'll display the circuit diagram because this is just way too hard to follow with how much there's going on. So essentially what you are doing is you have this ground and you're bringing it upon the positive railing. Then you have this wire bringing this positive railing over to this positive railing where there is the wires and all of the LEDs. And this is where you can hook it up and so that the circuit is complete, so that it goes in, it finishes the circuit, and this is what enables it to blink. And so essentially along with this is these specific wires at the specific pins, and what it's doing is it's bringing the pins to the resistor, and then the resistor goes to the LED, and then it completes the circuit by this ground wire. So essentially it's going in. The circuit is complete in a cycle. Handling with the buttons, this wire, the second wire that is connected to the pins, connects to this button, and the Arduino can use this to kind of tell if the button is on or off. So in this state, this would be, it would not be pressed, and when you press on it, it sends a signal to the Arduino to let the computer know that has been pressed. Before we get into the logic of the code, essentially what's going on here is that what we went over in the first unit, if you want to go back and review, but essentially what it's doing is this pattern for blinking. All it does is it blinks once, turns off, and then the next, and then it will cause a chain reaction. Another thing to note that I wanted to point out is that if you look at this, you see that this side is the positive side, and this is the negative side, and this is the positive side. So just make sure that you are hooking up the positive side to the resistor, and then the negative side will be connected to the positive railing. And so that essentially allows the whole thing to blink. And then the same goes for the buzzer. The buzzer should be connected, the positive side should be connected to pin 7, and then the negative side should be connected to pin 4. So it should be oriented like this. Something like that. Okay, so now let's look at the code. Alright, so this is after I have made the diagram. I made a different color so it's a lot easier for you. I used the breadboard so you can understand it much better. So just pause the video here if you don't understand. I will include another short video clarifying this, just to point out that this is the long side. So that would be the positive side, and this would be the negative side. Because we normally, it's different than what we normally do. And then essentially what you're doing is taking all of these pins, bringing them to the resistor or the push button, and then this wire goes to the ground, and then this connects it to the negative railing. And then each of these LEDs are connected to the negative railing. You don't need this wire, and I'll show what I did in the next clip with the LEDs. So pause the video here if you need to see the diagram, and if something's unclear, definitely leave a comment or leave some feedback. Okay, so this is the code. It's pretty lengthy. I think there's over like 500 lines of this code, but let's just go kind of through the definitions, and then I'll show how the code actually works. So here is just a bunch of defining lines that say the pitches of the buzzer and stuff. So these are all the different notes. And what's important is that each of the notes are a different pitch, a different sound, so that each of the sounds that, like, when you press the button, it's correct and the correct pitch. And here's also some other declarations. We have the LEDs here. And then we also have the buttons. Notice that the buttons match up with their respective pin number. So this is the rounds to win, 13. Um, and so yeah, this is basically the code. And so now let's get into how it actually works. So the first thing I want to explain to you is how arrays work. So essentially what an array is kind of like, instead you see how like x, you can, let's say there's a variable x, and let's assign it to like 4. Okay? So the variable x can only hold the number 4, right? So let's say if you want x plus 2 and you assign that to the variable y, then that would equal 6, right? Because x has the value of 4. So what's the downside of this? Well, x can only hold 4. What if you wanted it to hold 4, 8, 9? All these different numbers. So it can't hold all these numbers. It only stores a single value by itself. So this is where the introduction to arrays comes in. So let's say you said you wanted to store, so let's call this array x. We have the values. So let's say we wanted value 9, 8, 6, 4, and let's just say 22. So these are all the values that x holds. So let's say, oh, I want to see, so what we wanted to do was have multiple values for x and reference each of these values when we have the time. So let's say I want x to equal 9 one time, or I want x to equal 4 one time. Now this is possible with arrays. So how is that possible? You can't just say I want x to equal 4. How does that encode statement? Well, if you count, these are all indexes. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3, and this is index 4. Make sure that you know that it starts with index 0 and does not start with index 1. So here's a quick test. Which index is number 4 at? Well, if you said 3, you're correct. So let's say we wanted to take 4. All we have to do is write in the code x bracket 4. And this allows us to access number 3. So this is exactly what we see. If we go, let's scroll down, we can find that melody. We have a melody array where it has all these different notes. We come back over here. We can also find game board 32. That means there are 32 elements in the whole thing. So instead of this, this has 32 of these different values. Then let's go back. Let's say current move. You see that this is the index, so current move will have a value. So now let's look at that. Nope, this is the diagram. So let's say y was equal to 3. So if we say x, y, this is saying the same thing because y is the value of 3. Now let's go back and find a different one. We have game rounds plus plus, current move, we have current move. And so essentially this is just going in a circle, and what we're doing all these different times is accessing different elements of this array. So what is the application of this into the game that we've made? So now let's say we have LED 1. Let's do LED 1 in purple, LED 1, LED 2, LED. Let's just do 4 LEDs. So let's say since this code requires you to go back and forth with, it makes you recall the history of it. So if purple light lit up first, then green light second, and then blue light third, then you need to go purple, green, blue, and not, you can't do it in just any random order. So what this does is, let's say purple was value 1, value 0, right? Because this is the 0th index, or yeah, so 0, right? And then we want green to equal, let's say 2, right? Because this is 1, and then this is 3. So what it could do is it creates this array where if you tap one button, it puts that value into the array. So let's say if you were to, if they were taking an input, and instead of this sequence, you did something like 1, 2, and then 0. So this array would hold 1, 2, 0. Now what the computer can do is see these two do not match, so this is the it does not follow the sequence. So this player would lose. However, if the player enters in the correct sequence, 0, 2, 3, it will check accordingly and the player would win. So this is one way to look at the program. I'm not completely sure if the creator of this program did it that way, but this is an introduction to arrays and can be also found in here. And this also uses a bunch of different methods so that they can be accessed. So that's going to be it for this video, and I'm going to end off this video with a quick gameplay. Dang. All right. So, see if you could beat that score. And if you could beat it, please let me know in the comments. That's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we're going to expand on this. And then we're going to look at the LCD display and then kind of display the score and display a bunch of other things and just bring this project to a whole nother level. So if you really enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you never miss another video. And with that, see you in the next video.